Hello, investor warriors. Guess what? Everything in real estate is figure-outable. I'm going to go ahead and roll the credits, and when I come back, I'm going to tell you how we conquered the impossible deal. Hey guys, so what do I mean when I say real estate? Everything in real estate, everything in life, you guys, is figure-outable. And I listened to an amazing podcast where the author of the book, Everything is Figure-Outable, came on and told us about her origin story, about where she came up with the title of this book that she just published, Everything is Figure-Outable. And it was an amazing story about her mom, who used to fix things in the house, who used to just figure things out. She was a single mom, and so there was no man in the house to help her. And the author of the book, would come home and she would find her mom like disassembling things and putting them back together, or retiling bathrooms, or like patching the roof. And one day she asked her mom, how do you know how to do all this stuff? Because this was before the age of Google and before the age of like just jumping on the internet, right, YouTubing it. And her mom said, "Dear, everything is always figure-outable." And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. In real estate, everything is figure-outable. When you go into real estate investing, you are going to have some challenges. It's just part of the journey. There are going to be some deals where you think you are at the end of the road and you have no other options and you're going to lose money and you just can't figure out how to solve the problem. And I'm going to tell you the very first deal that we did. I had no experience in renovating a house. This was a probate property, so it came from an inherited heir who inherited the property. The house was a disaster. I calculated a $40,000 renovation. It ended up being $75,000 in renovation because I was so inexperienced with repair estimates at the time. And so as soon as we bought the house, we got to work, and there was lots of hurdles within the renovation. The budget kept going up, so we had to figure out where to get the money from because we didn't have any money at the time. So we figured out how to get money as the repairs were going up. We figured out how to manage the contractors that were coming in and out. We figured out how to put this house back together when I had literally had no experience of ever renovating a house, and this was a major renovation. Okay, so we figured out the renovation, which was the first part of the deal. Second part was we went to go sell the house, and we hired the wrong real estate agent. So he ended up putting the house way too high. The house sat. He wasn't holding as many open houses as we would have wished. So we had to figure out, like, why is this house not selling? We weren't getting any showings. We weren't getting any offers. So I started looking at comps. I started reaching out to other real estate agents, started looking over their comp analysis, started to take a look at the house, started to really understand the feedback that the buyers were giving me, the buyers who had already gone through the house, who hadn't made an offer. And we realized that we were too high. So we started to decrease our price slowly but surely, and we ended up finding a buyer who loved the house. Okay, so now we've spent all this time and money on renovation. We've spent all this time on finding a buyer. Like, time is a ticking, you guys. We have all this money into it. We had to figure out how to get a second loan as the renovation went up. We went to go sell the house, and we found out that we were in a major flood zone. And I'm talking like, I thought their premium was going to be $350 a year, and it was like $3,500 a year. And I thought for sure this was going to kill the deal with this buyer, and we were never going to sell the house with it being in such an enormous flood zone. So at one point, the realtor was like, I don't know what to do. The buyers were like, we don't know what to do. We can't afford it, even though we love the house and we want to live in this house. We can't get a loan without the flood insurance. So we made phone calls. We called the county. We had surveyors come out to resurvey the property to see if we could get it out of the flood zone. We were thinking of so many crazy things at the time. Literally at one point, we started taking a look at machinery or services that would move entire houses. Like, you guys, this was like a 3,000 square foot home, 3 levels with a basement, a first floor, and a second floor. And it was downhill. And we were literally talking about, like, okay, what if we could move the entire house? Okay, we were coming up with whatever solution we could find. We ended up finding a flood insurance specialist who specialized in just flood insurance. And he put the buyers into this graduated program because at the time, the 100-year flood maps had changed, and people who were previously not in flood zones were now in flood zones, and it was putting a financial burden on homeowners who never had to purchase flood insurance for their property. So there was this particular program out there that I didn't know about, that my regular insurance agents didn't know about, but phone call to phone call to phone call led me to this flood insurance specialist. And he basically put the buyers into this program where it started at the grandfathered rate of like $350 a year, right? That was what the previous owner was paying. He put them into the grandfathered rate at $350 a year, and every year that flood insurance quote could go up, a couple percentage each year for the next 7 years, and then it had a max of like $1,500 for the year over the course of 7 years. So the buyers said yes. We got them into this special flood zone program, and we moved forward. Then we had the appraisal come back, and the appraisal said, oh, you guys have more than doubled the value of this house in a very short period of time. They saw that we purchased it for $100,000 6 months ago. They saw that we were reselling it for $300,000. The bank ordered a second appraisal, and we were nervous that this house was not going to appraise at the contract price we had it at if we were to have another appraisal come through and do a second appraisal. So we got through the second appraisal. It appraised. Finally. Now more time has gone by. Then the bank, the lender, asked for the inspection report on the house. I have never had this happen, you guys, where a lender lending on the deal asked for the inspection report that the buyers had ordered. And so I sent them the inspection report, and the lender said, we're not sure we want to lend on this property because there was things in the inspection report that looked like the house might have, the structural integrity of the house might be compromised. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It was literally like some subfloor was rotted, or there was like little things that they were nitpicking inside of the inspection report. And so we ended up calling our contractor, and we were like, what can we do? Because the lender won't lend on this house with the inspection report. So he came in and he basically signed off on something that said the structural integrity, like everything's good, right? I'm a licensed contractor. Everything is good. I'm signing my name on this. And we sent that over to the lender, and they accepted it. Okay, so now more time has gone by. We get to the last couple days right before a closing, and the buyers were not sure that they were going to be able to close because something came up with them and the lender. So at this point, we were just waiting. And at this point, we just were about ready to call our backup buyer who we had. We had a backup buyer that was a cash buyer, and we sent the buyers who were under contract with us, we sent them the backup offer that we had from this cash buyer, and we said, if you guys do not figure this out in the next few days, we're canceling the contract, and we are going with this full price cash buyer who put in a backup offer when we were under contract with you. And sure enough, we ended up closing. So you guys, from start to finish, we had to figure out so many things. We went into this property not knowing anything, not knowing how to flip a house, not knowing how to renovate the house, not knowing how to hire the right agent, not knowing that what to do when your property is in a flood zone and buyers can't get flood insurance. We had to figure out the second appraisal. We had to figure out this inspection report that the lender was requiring and wasn't sure they were going to lend on the house with the repairs that were needed. Then we had to figure out how to get these buyers to close with the lender. And eventually we did close and we made money, but more so we had a huge learning experience. So if you think that you need to have everything figured out before you get into a deal, or before you start real estate investing, or before you start your own business, it's not true. You can figure it out as you go with the right education and the right coaching and the right tools in place, because everything is figure outable And these kinds of lessons are valuable. Okay, this is a priceless lesson I learned with our first deal, because I would never have gotten this experience reading it from a book or hearing it from my coach. I had to go through the experience of figuring things out and getting resourceful so that I could move on to the next deal and we could begin our business journey. All right, so that is it for today, guys. If you have a deal that you can't figure out or you're struggling with, go ahead and send it over to us. Message me here. We'd be happy to take a look at it. We do joint venture on deals before. Or if you or someone you know has a house that they need to sell, please contact us at carriebuys.houses.com. All of our contact information is there. I will see you guys on the next episode.